What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Watch Shop.
What is up, Watch Fam? I am Michael. You know, yesterday we were supposed to do this live, and I had a striped shirt on, red and white. And I was going to say, what is up, Watch Fam? I'm Waldo.
Waldo didn't wear... Oh, red and white.
You've probably never seen him.
Boom, Watch Fam. I got so frustrated I threw the book out. My mother knew not to keep those books around me. I just couldn't handle it.
Within seconds.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Just jerk off.
I don't know. Why doesn't he show himself?
Yeah, he probably owes me money. That's why he don't come around no more.
What'd he do?
Right?
Huh?
Good friend, borrows $20, never see him again.
Yeah, gone.
Where's Waldo? You know what? I'm going to start calling people Waldo. It's funny.
You should.
If you guys aren't familiar, Michael and I sit down once a week and we just look over a bunch of watch news and go through things and total wide spectrum, right down from Timex, which we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Now we're talking about Casio, we go to Patek, we go to Rolex, we talk about
most importantly, how to invest seriously in watches. We've done videos like this before. I've seen videos like it before where it's top 3 Rolexes to invest in. This is not that. This is a very serious conversation on investing in watches and making it part of your portfolio. Yeah,
we'll talk about it, I'll talk about it from personal experience and from what I did and then from what a lot of clients that I know have done.
Yep.
And I know people, obviously, that have spent millions of dollars in a portfolio on watches. Mm-hmm. And to some people, those millions were a lot of money. Some people, those millions were not a lot of money.
Yep.
But I know people that spent $10,000, $12,000 and did really, really well. Obviously there's one big caveat that we'll talk about as well that ultimately makes watches a horrible investment. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. First topic is G-Shock, the all-metal DW5000. So yes. I didn't see this watch was released. I'm only seeing it because you brought it to my attention.
Good. So this is not their first all-metal DW5000.
I do know that.
Okay, cool. They have the seal. They have the black, which I always wanted one, but I don't know how I feel about a giant metal G-Shock.
Agreed.
But this is their Tokyo Skyline G-Shock. Purple and this grayish blue two-tone finish type deal. Atomic timekeeping, solar powered, $600. Yep. What do you think?
I think it's the coolest one yet.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. Do you?
I do. The only thing is the colors go together, purple and blue, of course. But I do think it reminds me of Spy Kids 3D. Do you know that?
Yeah, now that you're saying that,
Game over,
Yeah, I do. What a reference. Oh my god. Oh my.
How deep did I just jig my hand into your subconscious?
Holy shit. I remember I was the kid, so if you guys are familiar with Spy Kids,
who is it? Actually, probably most of our audience.
So it was a movie when Michael and I were kids. Who was the dad, the Spanish guy? Antonio Banderas.
Yep.
The kid, the son's name was Julian or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, the first one came out, and I had recently come home from Barcelona with my family, and it was funny because I was a little kid, and this movie came out, and everyone liked it, and all little kids that know something that you don't, they're a little snotty about it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that in that movie, a lot of the architecture, I believe it was Gaudi-esque. It was all Gaudi.
Okay.
He's a famous, artist and architect.
You haven't lost that. I know something you don't. Yeah. Kid yet.
Anyway, I came to second grade or whatever, third grade, and I was like, "Do you guys notice all the architecture was very Gaudi-esque?"
Wow.
And my art teacher was the only one that thought it was awesome. Everyone else was like, what a jerk-off kid. This kid's going to grow up and do nothing. I'm just going to be a know-it-all little
The full reference, GMWB 5000PB-6. They really nail their references every single time. Makes it way easy. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I'm allergic to peanut butter.
Are you really?
Very slightly.
One of my favorite jokes, it was Louis C.K., I think. And he's like, of course. I love when jokes are of course. Of course we should protect everyone equally. Of course. Yeah. If we can go out of our way to save a child's life, we should.
Yeah.
Of course. It's not that difficult to accommodate people with peanut butter allergies.
Right.
But if you can't be in the room with a peanut, maybe you shouldn't be alive.
Mine, I didn't even know I was allergic until 24. I had a huge jar of peanuts, straight. and the next day I thought I had COVID. Because
Why
I had like 103 temperature, my throat was burning, and it was just like this crazy
You ever think you just OD'd on peanuts?
I don't know if that's a thing. Is that a thing?
I don't know.
I'll buy you a jar tonight. See how you die.
Keep an EpiPen.
You just keel over.
I know. Thank God I have insurance on you.
Oh my God.
Next watch, way up the spectrum.
Yeah, well, not really. They're both just watches. Did you read about this at all?
I did not.
Okay, this is a fascinating watch. This is the Audemar Piguet Minute Repeater Super Sonnerie. This is their minute repeater, but what is special about this minute repeater is that the volume that it produces and the sound is supposed to mimic that of pocket watches, which is typically much louder. And what you can see is that little thing on the back, or the case back, I guess. See how it's like vented?
Yeah.
That is actually what they use. Instead of hitting the main plate of the watch, they hit that big, just basically gong, I guess you could say.
Interesting.
So it is supposed to be much louder and sound way better. And now this is in titanium, which is supposed to be a better metal, or the best metal for a minute repeater.
Yes. Well, I definitely remember, learning about the different metals and the different sounds of the metals. I believe because of the densities, I suppose.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting. Wow, $380,000. I would imagine this is the only manual wind Royal Oak.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Right? I mean, I can't think of another manual wound Royal Oak. Yes. When I had the Tourbillon, that was manual.
So high complications.
That was.
Oh, that makes sense.
That watch was.
Why?
Because I sold that watch for like $75,000.
Wow. Talk about investing in watches, huh?
Oh my God.
That makes sense. Anything with this high of a complication, it's going to increase case size, so they have to pull out the rotor so they can keep it respectable.
Yeah.
It makes total sense.
I love the case back. I wonder if that actually is the sound. No, what is that? That's just sound.
Oh, right? Like the sound wave?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually, no, because if it was that, it would be like one spark and then very smooth, But yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
It's a lot of money. I mean, the truth is I don't love the fact that the watch has the second dial, the sub-second. I actually don't like that at all.
Really?
Yeah, no.
If anything, I wish they made it kind of similar to the actual dial color. Because it sticks out a lot.
Oh, you mean this. Yeah, I understand.
But the one thing I do really like is the actual minute repeater action. I think that looks cool. Reminds me of Batman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah, that is really cool.
So if you like Batman, you could just get this watch.
That's a stretch.
Well, you could also get the Batman.
Save yourself $360,000.
Me being a salesman. Do you like Batman?
You're like,
what?
Yeah, I do. Wow. You're like, great. You should buy this.
Actually, wait a minute. The Batman, Rolex, you could probably get a better deal.
I'd be like, you just saved me $360,000. IWC's blue ceramic.
Yes, sir.
I think this is beautiful.
Same. This is a collaboration piece, so this isn't a massive thing. But I like the watch. I like that it's blue ceramic. But what I really like is the band.
Why?
I don't know. I just think it's beautiful. That's rubber.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me something you didn't like. I didn't know. No. I thought that your remark was just larger than it's just pretty.
That's really it.
Yeah.
I like that it's rubber. I like that there's a textile inner, which is probably polyester, being honest. But if you look at the inside of the band, see those like X's?
Yeah.
That to me looks like there is a patent on what's the Rolex rubber band?
The Oyster Flex?
Oyster Flex. That to me looks like there's a patent on the Oyster Flex design so it doesn't really touch your wrist. And this is what they came up with.
I wonder if that has a similar function. Yeah,
I bet it does.
I think it does. Yeah, I just think that whole matte, colored ceramic is a very cool thing. I mean, even if it's not ceramic, I remember when like PVD black, or they did it in olive green. I mean, I think that's just cool.
Same.
It's conservative because it's matte. It doesn't look cheap at all. It's different. And at $6,200,
yep,
that's great.
Yeah,
that's a very, very cool piece. But I like IWC in general.
Same.
Like, it's a brand we haven't worked with before, but I really, really enjoy their stuff.
And when you listen to these specs, 41 millimeter case, 100 meters water resistant, 5-day power reserve.
Yeah.
That's a beast of a watch. Yeah. In ceramic, and has this cool band, which is really a selling point for me.
Yeah.
$6,250. That's crazy. For limited edition.
I'd probably throw it on like a NATO too, but like one of those like undersized single pass NATOs. Maybe in like an old beaten up like gray. I always do. I'm always old, beaten up. Always old, beaten up, single pass NATO.
Beaten up, old, gray NATO.
Okay.
Okay.
I tried on an Omega this week, a yellow gold Omega Speedmaster that I really, really liked.
Yeah.
I actually visited Omega's factory last week, which was very, very cool.
NBD.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really, really amazing. I gotta say, like I have so much to talk about it, and Omega's a partner of ours, one of our favorite partners. So we'll talk a lot more about that in the future. But I did go to BN and visit, and it was just like everything head to toe was incredible. I mean, forget the hospitality. They were very hospitable. It was amazing. But their new factory is literally built. The entire architecture, it's entirely constructed. So visitors, not that there are many, but visitors, whatever, can completely understand the Omega ethos on their 1 hour, tour.
Wow.
Like very specific. It's almost like a messaging firm, whatever. Went in and said, "This is what's important to explain. You need to explain it." Like,
really?
Yeah, because it's obviously watch geeky. It's definitely for watch geeks.
Yeah, of course.
A layperson could have easily walked in there and understood so much about watches by the time I left.
Really?
So much.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
To the point of like, I think that they explained magnetism and their war against magnetism better than I've ever heard before.
Really?
Yes, with demonstration, with everything.
Wow.
And under 5 minutes.
Wow.
It was amazing. It was amazing. I highly recommend if you can, make an appointment or if you're an Omega, whatever, if you have contact, visiting, because it is really, really incredible. It's a really incredible space.
You should go.
But we'll talk way more about this stuff later. But anyway, I was wearing a yellow gold Speedmaster this past week. Lovely watch. Lovely watch.
You totally forgot where you're going with this.
No,
I also don't know.
No, fisherman sweater. I know where I was going with
Oh, okay, keep going.
I was trying.
Who am I to stop you? Actually.
Yeah, speaking of which, I put on this yellow gold Speedmaster. It was gorgeous, and all I said out loud to the group of people, I said, beaten up denim like jeans, like fisherman sweater, and they were like, or anything. Yeah, if they bought if I bought this watch, I wear it all the time. Like, no, I wear it very specifically, like before 2 p.m., probably like before 11 a.m. Like brunch date.
Right.
And they were like, "You're nuts.
Beaten
you have
up.
A problem.
Beaten up."
Yeah.
They're like, "Are you gonna beat it up?" No, it comes from the store like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it that way. I'm actually gonna spend more money.
Yeah.
That's like when if my grandfather sees you wear ripped jeans, he'll ask you, "Did they pay you to wear those?" It's like, okay.
That's the most Tito thing I've ever heard. Today I was trying to get his attention because I was in his house.
Yeah.
And he's outside, and I'm going, Tito, and he's facing the other way, waiting for me to come around. And I didn't know what to do, so I started snapping.
No, it's not.
I was like, look at me go. Look at me snapping at this old man.
Yeah. All right, but before we get into investing in watches, or Rolex specifically, let's go through a couple of watches naturally. I'm wearing a Rolex Datejust reference 1603. First of all, we're going to show you 4 Rolex Oysters right now.
Yes.
All 4 of these watches are available in the Theo and Harris watch shop. I personally found and sourced and picked and bought and paid for with my money. Yes. All these watches. I believe in these watches. They're watches that I not only would wear, but do wear very actively. I wear them all the time. This is a 1603, beautiful silver dial, very, very strong oyster case, original Jubilee bracelet, wide boy handset. Wide boy handset, and dial, matching. It's original. The term wide boy derives from the extra wide indices and hands. Typically, if you look at the other 2 watches here, the smaller oysters, those are called traditional stick hands, and they are also beautiful. Right, the one isn't necessarily better than the other, but wide boy dials are rarer and in turn more desirable. Maybe they're your preference aesthetically as well. That's not for me to say. Right. But I adore wearing these watches. Wide boy, Datejust hold a very special place in my heart. Some of the first watches I ever aspired to own.
Yeah.
So I just love them. And this is a great one.
I agree.
Yeah, it's a great watch.
You want to know what I'm wearing?
That is what?
This is a Rolex Datejust 1600, not a wide boy, but same style.
Yeah, no, a wide boy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm also wearing a wide boy.
Yep.
Basically the same exact watch, except that bezel is smooth, which is my favorite Rolex Datejust.
Yeah.
I think immediately, if you're into Rolex, everybody looks for fluted, but a smooth bezel pops a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
instantly it's like one single kind of glimmer around.
If you guys aren't necessarily familiar, Rolex manufactured, their most, popular, Datejust models in the vintage era, the 60s and 70s, in 4 bezels. It was fluted, very, very popular.
Yep.
The Datejust everyone thinks about.
Yep.
And there was engine turn, which is what we have here. Engine turn was discontinued not that long after. It's no longer manufactured. Then there was smooth, and then finally there was the Thunderbird bezel,
yes,
which is kind of polarizing. A lot of people don't like it. I think they're very cool, but
it changes the function of the watch a lot,
totally.
which is why I think it gets people.
It's quirky though.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, that's a smooth. You're right. Do you like the two-tone? Like I love two-tone. So.
I like two-tone. I like straight stainless better.
Yeah. 2 great pieces, obviously same size, nearly the same reference. Again, 1603, 1600, both available in the Theo and Harris watch shop.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to go down in size a little bit for a second with 2 more watches that are also available. These are both reference 1500s. They're very similar watches, just different dials. One here on the left is a snow white. So this immaculate white dial, matte.
My favorite.
Very difficult to find.
My absolute favorite.
Gorgeous.
Yep.
Gorgeous watches.
The dial itself on a white, old date glows. That's 100%. What's so nice about a white 100%.
One. Yeah, they're so crispy. And then on the right here, we've got what was originally silver, not white, that has patinated to this, I don't know, just this wild, kind of yellow, gold, orange, color, depending on the light.
Yep.
It's stunning. I love patina. These watches, even more so than today. Even today, they're made to be worn, but no one really wears them. Not really.
Right.
Back then, these were pretty close to tools.
Yeah. So, price-wise too.
Yeah. I mean,
so it came out.
If you read old novels, back to my old Hemingway, right?
Yeah.
The old man, wore a Rolex Oyster.
Right.
Fishing,
yeah,
doing things, exploring. And it wasn't because Rolex paid them to, it was because that's what you wore.
Right.
You were doing something difficult. You wore a good watch.
That's it's a biggest shame now that all these Rolexes are still very functional, even more functional, obviously. But you put them away for those events. You pull them out when you're walking in the mall. Or something
I think it's so cool that they were made for that.
Yeah, same.
And it's a shame that we don't use them for that anymore.
Yeah.
I try to. I really do.
Yeah.
I always wear a watch when I fish. I love beating them up.
It's fun to use a tool. That's the whole point.
100%.
Yeah.
The only thing that gets me paranoid about fishing with watches is if, God forbid, the bracelet does fall off, which has never happened to me in my life.
Yeah, right.
A bracelet has never fallen off my wrist.
Right.
But I'm just paranoid that it could, and then it's gone. Whereas I know that if a bracelet falls off, which, again, it does not happen unless the pins are in wrong. But in my... It's like when you hold your phone near an edge.
Yeah.
You're not going to drop it. You're not an idiot.
No, yeah, right.
Why are you afraid?
Yeah.
So, I know, when I go fishing, I generally fish with my dad, with Rolly. So if, he has his GMT and he's hanging over the edge of the boat, I'm like, Father,
don't
move back.
Father, don't do that.
Father, don't do that.
Father.
And he's like, it's an oyster. It's supposed to be in the water. I'm like, shut the up, shut the up.
Yeah, I get it. The Rolex sold you. I get it. Yeah. You know what's funny is the old In the Metal series, you would have described this as marshmallow.
Yeah.
And while you were talking, I started thinking about that, and then I started thinking about marshmallows, and I literally started drooling. So all that while you're talking, I am drinking my drool back.
Yeah. You were the kind of guy to get that kind of marshmallow, because you were patient. My marshmallows are all black and crusty. Yeah, right. I burn them.
You flick it in the fire.
Yeah. How do you get your marshmallows? How do you do them?
You just put them and get them on a stick.
Okay, next conversation. On to investing in watches, specifically Rolex.
Yes.
We both have different perspectives on this, I imagine, right? To some degree, right? Different experience.
You have a lot more experience.
Well, you and I both have an abnormal amount of experience in making money in watches.
True.
It's the truth. And obviously, both of our perspectives are a little bit skewed because having a retail business. You can make millions of dollars in hot cocoa. That's because you have a retail store. It's not because it's a good idea to invest in hot cocoa. But that being said, I also as a collector have actually done very well investing in watches with my own money.
Yeah.
I can give you a great example, right? All those years that I was telling my audience and everyone to buy certain watches, Universal Genève pull routers, Rolex date, and all Rolexes really, Omega Seamasters, all this stuff. I was doing it as well. Right, I was doing it to as much as I could afford, every month, right? So we'll make up numbers here, but if I put if I managed to stock away $100,000 in these old watches, today they're worth $400,000.
Yeah.
So forget about the fact that you have a retail store. Forget about the fact that you could sell them. Forget about all that stuff.
Yeah.
They're just worth a lot more now than they were.
Correct.
And they would have worth the same thing for anybody else. Now, if you don't own a retail store, naturally you have to pay a sales commission to a guy like me, and that's fine.
Yep.
But in the grand scheme, it
You're
wouldn't matter.
400% increase.
Talking about you still killed it. You still killed it.
Yeah.
So that's going back a couple of years. Now there are brands like FP Journe that I know that people that put in $100,000 during COVID that now it's worth $400,000.
Yep.
Right? It's crazy. Obviously, if you can get a Rolex, any Rolex almost, at an AD, right, and then flip it. Is that a good investment? Yes, of course. That being said, it's not really an investment.
It's like trading.
It's just trading.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just a flip.
Yeah, right.
But there are tons of opportunities actively, all different sorts of brands. Today, yes, there are fewer today than there were 3 years ago, but there are still plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty. And I think that the best way to kind of sniff it out is really to just take a step back, listen to what people are saying.
Yep.
People quote unquote influencers, people that do this every day.
Yeah.
And whatever. How many years did I talk about Cartier monopushers?
Oh yeah.
For years I talked about these watches.
Yeah.
My Piguet. Right? When I bought the Piguet, it was, in the range of, it's a couple months ago, $15,000. $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Right.
Which brings, which brings my cost down to 10 if I want to do it like that,
Yeah,
but,
right.
But the problem is that it's only an investment if you don't sell it. If you sell it,
Yeah, exactly.
I never sell my anyway, so whatever. My Cartier Tengsin tray, I think I paid like $8,000 for that watch, and it's worth 30 almost now.
Yeah, it's insane.
You've done well in watches because you really bought not with your heart, but with your heart and your head.
Yeah, right.
And if you have a good taste and you're not a genius, but if you're just paying attention, it all works out. Because watches it's an emerging market. There's a lot of money being poured into it.
Yep.
Because it was an industry owned by very few people for a very long time, and the mass market wasn't in it.
Right.
But now the mass market is, or they're starting to be. And I think that, and I'll, after my speech, and then you can go, but I think that I know that a lot of people now are like, oh, that's it, the glory days are over, watches are, it's over now, we can't make any money. It's not true. It's not true at all. Prices are high now compared to where they were.
Right.
But I think for a lot of pieces and a lot of subcategories, most categories, the ship is still docked, relatively speaking.
Right.
There are more passengers on board, but the ship hasn't left the port yet. It hasn't left.
Right.
Big difference.
Yeah.
And it's perspective ruins it for a lot of people, but the truth remains.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Going off of that, I saw what was really interesting. I forget who was saying it, but they were basically saying looking at watches at investments is an interesting thing, but most importantly, everybody that's saying the ship is gone, it's done, there's no money to be made, has social media slowed down? Has interest in watches started waning? What is it to you that is saying it's going to stop? Is it because you're getting scared because it keeps going up?
It's all perspective. They're just
exactly.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So that was something really interesting that I didn't really think about for the first time, because I invest in stocks, I do crypto, you do crypto as well, and you always want to be diversified. But recently I was just at the very least, watches are going to hold their value. You know what I mean? And in terms of with inflation, they'll at least outpace inflation, in my opinion. I look at my first Datejust that I got. I think I was getting them, I don't want to say prices, but way lower than I can get one now. Even if you just go on eBay and you look at the worst condition.
Well, at the time, what was it, Datejust? $2,000?
Yeah. Literally $2,000. And then what was funny was that was when I was in college. And now, sometimes I'll go on eBay and just look and see if there's anything cool. You can't find a Datejust for $2,000.
No.
You can't find a date for $2,000.
No.
You can't find a manual wind 34 kind of clearly a redial for $2,000.
No.
It sounds more salesy. What is interesting is that modern day Rolexes have a lot of, they're basically overvalued right now.
Yeah,
I see modern. In terms of an investment, you're okay, we are really kind of overvalued, but I see vintage as less so, but also still going up.
Yeah.
And obviously we do vintage, but I've always flipped vintage and stuff too. And I look at that as a part of an investment that can actually legitimately be a part of your like real investment portfolio and not an excuse. Because that's what I had for a long time. I was like, yeah, I'd love to get like 4 Datejust, you know, and say it's an investment, but it's hard to kind of stomach that.
But
that is investment.
It is.
Yeah, it really is. If I kept those, they would not be worth more.
Yes, and it would have outpaced a lot of other investments.
Yeah. What do you think about it? College was 4 years ago. Datejust, what was it? 4 years ago.
$2,000.
$2,000. Now what? What's the
$5,000?
Yeah.
$5,500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
No problem. This watch is like $5,500.
So a 250% increase in 4 years.
Yeah.
Outpaces the market in general, but outpaces also most big like guns right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Apple did like 90% last year, which is insane.
Yep.
But Apple is like the exception to the rule.
Yeah, that's why a lot of times, you know, people will say, you know, make an offer on a watch that hasn't sold in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And you know, they think that they're holding the cards.
Right.
And I politely say, no, we're not taking offers on this, or that offer is too low for us. I'm sorry. But and then sometimes people get cocky and they'll get
mean to you.
Yeah. Well, when you're ready to accept the offer, come along. I'm like, well, respectfully, you know.
Yeah.
You know, if you can afford to hold the watch, right?
Yeah.
I'm not jumping ship. Like the value's going nowhere but up.
Like it'll catch up. If anything. Right.
We're good. I'll wait for the client.
Right.
It's now if I thought the value was going to go down, I got to buy. That's it. Get the out.
Yeah. Right.
But no, like the values are strong and rising. So I'll wait to find the person that's looking for this watch.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. And that's the sign of a healthy market.
Yeah.
You don't have dealers scared. No one's scared because the watches are solid. Now that I don't mean this for all watches. I've been in this business for 6 years, and I have seen mini markets that or markets, whatever, submarkets that I thought were riddled with panic. I saw Paul Newman dips, and net they've done well, but I saw dips throughout the years.
Yeah, of course.
And people lost $100,000, $200,000, a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I would have really sucked. So it's not like it's not like everything's perfect out there, but especially a lot of stuff that we carry, and it's a promo for the shop, but really it's because the stuff that we carry, stuff that I'm interested in. Stuff that I'm interested in, I could afford at the time, right?
Yeah, of course.
It just happens to be great stuff.
And I think I look at them as just more stable in general.
Yeah.
Like a vintage Datejust.
Well, there are far more buyers.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Right.
Many more people can afford a $5,000 Datejust than a $50,000, Daytona. It's just the truth.
And I don't see these as getting hyperinflated in price.
No.
I don't all of a sudden expect to go on eBay and see a vintage Datejust go for $8,000, $10,000. I think it could climb.
I think it's going to continue to climb.
But I don't think it will all of a sudden hit that.
No, it's going to continue to climb very steadily. I would bet you, I'd bet you 10, 20 grand, whatever, that we'll see like regular Datejust at $10,000.
Yeah.
Not tomorrow. It's not going to jump like that.
Right.
There are too many of them. But they'll be at 10 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, across the board.
And what's interesting is that I know for a fact there's a lot of people watching this be like, oh yeah, buddy. But
I don't care.
You have I'm not in many of them, but you do have 1,200 videos on the channel.
Yeah.
If you go back to early stuff, you are literally saying like, buy vintage Datejust, buy vintage Datejust, buy it. Even I'm selling them, you need to get them.
Yeah.
Like,
I technically have a horse in this race. I also don't care.
Yeah, right.
The horse is a hobby of mine.
Right.
I have a job.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't make my money off of selling the Datejust.
Right.
So this is I just love doing this.
Yeah.
I really do. Right. I've been saying this forever. I've been saying this for 6 years on YouTube. Which is funny that you bring that up because every time we'll do like a podcast interview or whatever, people talk about YouTube and talk about all the years I've been on YouTube and everything like that. And I said this last time, and it was like first time I'd ever said it, and I was like, wow, that's so weird. They were like, what do you think about the channel? And I said, well, the channel's at a place now that I'm super happy with, right?
Yeah.
Michael and I have incredible banter. Our short films are something really to be proud of. It's great. But it's not what you're asking about, is it? You're asking about the 6 years of videos it took to get here, and 6 years of 200
a year.
Yeah, 200 a year. And,
it's insane.
Me being on YouTube as a 19-year-old kid, like yelling at the camera and whatever, and I said, not like Macaulay Culkin, but in a similar way, I grew up on camera.
Yeah, right, right.
And almost, again, not comparing. I am comparing objectively, but
yeah, of course.
In a way, worse because Macaulay Culkin was
an adorable, lovable kid. Yeah, right.
I was giving my opinions on important things,
and trying to stand out.
Yes,
right.
Way different. You know, you look like an idiot. You know, it was really loud or whatever. But if you can put all that stuff aside, which I can't, but if you can, I was right.
Yeah, right.
I was right.
Yeah.
You know, not about everything, but about a lot of.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is, if you weren't right, TNH wouldn't have worked, because the date just would not have gone up. You would have to keep increasing your volume every year. Right. Exactly. Which you are, but you know what I mean. Exactly. To keep pace just with what you're making.
Yeah. Again, we made, you know, we did very well both in retail, meaning in the actual, you know, margin, like, you know, in volume, making money, making $200, $500, whatever, here and there on watches. But I did just as well, if not better, investing in watches. Yeah. You know, and I have clients constantly now calling me up, you know, and we don't really do it that often, and don't email me to do this, because I really won't do it. I'll politely tell you probably no, but we do have a couple of clients that I source watches for. That's it. Like, you know, they have, you know, they spend a lot of money, you know, they'll commit, you know, a couple $100,000, $1 million, a couple $1 million, whatever, and they'll say, you know, hey, just build me a collection. I'd like to have a couple pieces in there that I could wear. But other than that, let's just put some money away, because you know, hedge funds, people are saying this is a good idea. Right. They are. It's not just some jerk off on YouTube. Right. I have a call with a hedge fund on Thursday or Friday? Well, on Friday. Yeah. That they're hooking me up with some of their clients that are looking to put money in watches. Like, okay,
it is a legitimate thing. If you need someone to tell you, it is fun to buy that watch, and it is also an investment. Yeah. We're telling you, hedge funds are telling everyone else, and trying to keep it a little more private. But that's the real part that I want to get across in this video. It is fun, and it seems a little too fun to be a smart decision. But if you play your cards right and you think about what you're buying, exactly. And I think that, you know, to get this on like tactical advice, I think that you know, when people get into it, they get gung ho. They're like, okay, I'm spending $1 million, I'm spending $100,000, or whatever, $50,000, whatever. Might be $10,000. Right. And you have to kind of ask yourself, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for hobby, or am I doing this for money? Right. And don't lie to yourself. If you're doing it for hobby, then buy what you want. Be a pain in the ass. Don't use it as an excuse.
Right. And the fact that you made money, call it a happy accident. Yep. Right. But if you're looking to make money, you know, acquire. And I see a lot of guys that say they want to make money, and they're not, right? They're way too specific. They're looking for particular years. They're looking for, you know, years that are sentimental. Like, dude, you want this for you. That's a different story. Right. And maybe I can help you find that. Yeah, of course. Year for you. Maybe I can do that. But maybe I can't. And every day that it goes by that you are passing up on great watches that are at great prices, because you're looking for a 1972, bad. Right. You're no longer in this to make money.
There are 50 of a different date. In better condition, I promise.
Exactly right. So that's the other thing. You know, be diligent, but be quick on the draw, and don't be too discerning. I don't mean on the watch itself. I mean on the watch's relationship to you. Yes. This is about money, right? You can make millions of dollars in a stock you don't care about. Exactly. You know, in Teldar paper, right? It's a reference to to Wall Street, Gordon Gekko. Of course. It's not sexy. It's not glamorous. It can be. Yeah. So if you're going to put X amount of dollars into watches, is it nice to pick up a couple things that you're going to really enjoy and wear? Absolutely. Of course. But put your interests aside, and buy. You know, consult with someone like me or someone like someone else. This is not where I make my money. Again, I'd prefer if you didn't email me in many ways. I'm not even kidding.
In a much more serious way.
Yeah, I'd really prefer if you didn't. Yeah. It's a lot.
I can attest to that.
But listen, build good rapport. Obviously, stay within big houses, stay within Rolex, stay within Patek, and build a trusting relationship, because the dealers, the me's of the world in this instance, don't stand to make a lot of money on these trades. We're making very, very small amount of money. I would much rather stock something and sell it. I'll make a lot more money if I buy it, stock it, and sell it. Consulting to you is not really worth anyone's time. Right. It's not. You only do it if there's another opportunity on the horizon. Right. Whether that's a friendship, or whether that's something else, whatever. Yeah, of course. But like, don't lie, not lie, but don't trick yourself about your own intentions. You know?
Yes. But seriously, don't.
Yeah, exactly. And if your thing is, hey, I want a 72 because that's the year I was born, like, Can you help me out? The answer is yes, of course.
Yeah, right.
It's going to take a while.
Right.
Right? But don't say it's like an investment watch.
Right.
Because if you want to talk about investment, let's go. On the clock. We have 3 hours. I'll get you an investment in 3 hours.
Yeah, right.
Let's go.
Right.
Right? Like, because I'm making my 5% either way, and I can make my 5% in 3 hours, or I can make it in 3 weeks. And in the 3 hour one, you actually make more money.
Yeah.
So like don't get it crossed.
Right. Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, there's a lot of money to be made in watches. I highly recommend you people park money. I mean, okay, white gold day dates easy. Tudor subs easy. Most Rolex subs for that instance. Aluminum, great as well, but even if you go into gilt, if you go into their GMTs, pointed crown guards, interesting colored bezels, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's the more obvious, the better. That's another good rule of thumb. The more obviously, different it is, the better it is.
Yes.
Because there ultimately is a larger buyer pool.
Yep.
And that's incredibly important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, buy Rolexes. We're all making money. That's it. Done. Score.
Waldo out. Waldo's done with the watches.
But that's it.
Good stuff.
All right, follow us on YouTube. Subscribe.